About a year ago, I was on stage, not far from here, in front of an audience of center-right Americans, about 800 self-described principled conservatives. Not exactly my home turf. I was a community organizer in the 1970s, a union organizer in the 1980s, worked on both of Reverend Jackson's presidential campaigns, and in the 1990s, helped co-found the left-leaning Working Families Party. But there I was, on stage with the former executive director of the Michigan Republican Party and a former staffer for a U.S. senator, a Democratic centrist. And I wasn't there because I had changed my mind on the need for a robust social democracy in America. I was there because the fight against authoritarianism takes precedence over everything else. The two-party system is in disrepair. We should back up a little bit to understand how it got there. Political scientist Lee Drutman calls it the two-party doom loop. And is it ever? He means the vicious cycle or the downward spiral that has created the degraded politics and dysfunctional government with which we are all fully aware. The major parties are like two punch-drunk fighters trying to bash each other into submission, achieve total dominance, forgetting that the aim of politics is not to destroy your opponents. It is to actually solve public problems through some sort of principled negotiation and compromise. Sounds quaint, I know. Today, unfortunately in America, negotiation, well, that's for losers, and compromise, well, that buys you a well-funded primary opponent. The two-party system is broken, and it is not going to self-correct. We need to intervene. Those people in that audience last year, they loved their country every bit as much as I do, and we need to work together with them. Which brings me to something called fusion voting. You've never heard of it. It was once legal in every state, now banned in most, but it brought us a multi-party democracy for more than 100 years. And it might, just might, provide a path out of the two-party doom loop. Here's how it works. This is an election, a schematic of a ballot from Connecticut and New York, two states that still use fusion in every election every year. It's pretty familiar to you. There's a Democrat, there's a Republican, there's a well-meaning, if largely irrelevant, green. But something interesting is happening on the fourth line. The Common Sense Party has cross-nominated or fused with the Democrat. The Common Sense people, they're not Democrats. They're different than Democrats, but they've decided she's the major party candidate closest to their values. And so they say to their supporters, vote for her, but vote for her under the Common Sense Party label and send her a message. Election day rolls around. Democrat gets 46%. Republican gets 49%. The Green gets a hair under 1%. The last 4% comes in on the Common Sense Party line. The votes are tallied separately by party and then added together to produce the final tally. In this case, a narrow victory for the Democrat-Common Sense fusion candidate. No wasted votes, no spoiler votes when you vote for a fusion third party. Let's look at what in real life. 1940, New York State, Franklin Roosevelt against Wendell Willkie for president. This is FDR's home state. He's losing, Democrat versus Republican. But then you look at the votes that came in on the fusion party, then called the American Labor Party, and Roosevelt carries the state. Fusion's roots in America are very deep. It's 1850. Abolition is rising. We have two major parties. The Democrats, they're pro-slavery. The Whigs, they can't make up their minds. But there are minor parties forming, the Liberty Party, the Anti-Nebraska Party, the Free Soil Party. And they say to their supporters, we know this guy's a Whig. He's kind of a stuffed shirt. But on slavery, he's really quite good and a lot better than his opponent. So vote for him, but vote for him on the Liberty Party ticket or the Free Soil Party ticket, and let him know that you want him to be stronger still on abolition. And thus they forced the question of slavery into the public debate. After the Civil War, fusion parties bloom across America. Debtors and farmers and suffragists and populists all form new minor parties to advance the issues of the day. The 8-hour day, ending child labor, women's suffrage, public education, including for black children. These were new ideas. New ideas are always started by small groups of people in minor organizations. But with fusion, they could test their ideas in the political marketplace. And if their ideas are good, and these ones certainly were, voters respond. And eventually the major parties, sometimes both, will adopt the ideas of the minor parties. In fact, you know you're doing well when the major parties co-opt your ideas. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. So what happened to the passionate, constructive minor parties of the 19th century? They were outlawed. Democrats banned fusion voting in the South. Republicans banned fusion voting in the North, giving us the mostly brain-dead two-party system that we are all familiar with today. But what was banned can be unbanned. And it's not hard to imagine what would happen if you did that. For one thing, there would be parties like the Working Families Party and the Conservative Party on the left and on the right that would form, and that would in fact enrich our political discourse. But there'd be some very interesting action also in the center, because there are millions of Republicans who do not like the direction of their party, but they are not at home in the Democratic Party. And there are millions of Democrats who are not thrilled by some of the moves that party has taken, but they are not looking to become Republicans. Yet we force them into the zero-sum, two-party box that produces the narrow, dysfunctional politics that describes America today. We can do better. If there were fusion, you can easily imagine a common-sense party devoted to the rule of law, fighting corruption, fixing the government, but not breaking it, getting 5%, 9%, 13% of the vote. It wouldn't take long for them to grow a voting base because they're not wasting votes, they're not spoiling, they are sending a message. And in so doing, they become a bulwark for democracy because they force the major parties to pay attention. Otherwise, they risk losing those votes. So that's what could happen. But what is happening? Well, this is the good news in my otherwise gloomy talk. This is happening in a couple of states right now. Citizens like yourselves are working to revive and re-legalize fusion voting using that most American of tools, the lawsuit. In New Jersey, the New Jersey Moderate Party has sued. In Kansas, United Kansas has sued. We actually think their chances are quite good. Within a year, we will know whether they have revived this old but very valuable form of voting in their states. There's another half a dozen states that are right now preparing proto-party committees and plaintiff bodies to bring similar litigation. It's completely feasible that by 2028, we will have a multi-party system in a dozen states in America. And what a breath of fresh air that would be, because, my fellow citizens, political parties are the essential building block of democracy. You cannot have a democracy without parties. This is how we structure and manage political competition. It is how voters know who stands for what. The problem is you need to have more than just two. So, in the spirit of planting seeds, educate yourself on fusion voting, spread the word on social media, write a letter to the editor, save some brain time for it, because nothing gets done by itself. I am still the same garden variety social democrat I ever was, but at this point, like you, I'm a bit more interested in building bridges than barricades, because we simply must build an electoral coalition, a civic coalition that is broader than the one we currently have. And that means finding true patriots, left, right, and center, to help us forward. Please help us. Thank you very much.